Days after the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India issued show cause notices to telcos over call drops, Chairman of TRAI RS Sharma has spoken to India Today's business editor Rajiv Dubey. TRAI chief speaks about call drop menace and the steps the regulatory body is taking to counter it.
India's 4G speeds are among the lowest in the world, call drops are rampant, and unsolicited call menace continues to haunt the consumer. I have with me RS Sharma, the Telecom Regulatory Authority Chairman, with me to discuss why is it that the government and TRAI have not been able to rein in these problems as far as the consumers are concerned. Mr. Sharma, welcome to India Today.
Thank you.
I wanted to understand, first let's start with the call drop issue. We have almost every second call you can experience as a consumer drops. You are not able to get through calls very often in the first attempt. Yet, as far as the numbers are concerned, it shows 0.6% call drop, which is a very good sign as far as the global standards are concerned. Global standards are about 2%. Why is it that there is such a variance between what the consumer is experiencing and what the numbers tell us?
Quality of service has been a major issue, and which TRAI deals with that issue. And about 1.5 years back, is to be more precise, October of 2015, we had, considering the fact that there was a huge, call drop issue, we had issued a regulation which actually tried to ensure that the consumers are in a way compensated for the deficit in service. And we made that regulation which says that we will deposit, reimburse 3 rupees, 1 rupee per call drop for the first 3 call drops. That regulation was challenged by the telecom service providers in the Honorable High Court, and the Honorable High Court upheld that regulation, Delhi. Then it was again challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court, and Honorable Supreme Court said that this was quashed. So we could not succeed in that part. But I think what we have done, and because it's our mandate, we have taken a multiple number of steps to ensure that the call drops are contained. And if they are not contained, the appropriate financial disincentives are levied against the telecom service providers for that part. So one is we change this whole overall average issue of 2%. Because what happens is that the 2% hides a lot of areas which are highly underserved and deficit. And therefore, we actually devised a method where rather than going on the 2% average basis, we said let all the BTS, all the towers will be organized and in an ascending order or descending order of call drops. And then we will levy the financial disincentives according to that. So that's one part. And that has become effective since October of last year. And the first quarter of October to December, the data is with us, and we have started asking for show cause from the telecom service providers who did not meet these.
What's the penalty for this?
The penalty is pretty stiff compared to what it was earlier. And the penalty also goes progressive in the sense that if you do not meet the benchmark in a given service area for 1 quarter, if you do a default next quarter, then the penalty will increase proportionately. So that way the regulation is pretty sort of good, and we hope that that will be able to.
So what's the penalty? What's the penalty you will be imposing on the telecom?
No, I mean, let me not quantify, because penalty is up to a certain value. It doesn't mean that that value is not a mathematical formula in some sense. So let me not get into that. But suffice to say that adequate provisions exist to disincentivize the telecom service providers from giving such poor quality of service.
What about 4G speeds? There are surveys worldwide that have been done across the world, 70-80 countries, which say our speeds are among the lowest in the world. I mean, we are at 6 Mbps when the world's best are in the 40 Mbps range. So where is it that we lack? And why is it that the government or TRAI are not able to push this?
We have actually started a consultation, and that is in the final stage, where we are saying if, let's say, we are not able to get the minimum download speed point wise, we should be able to have some idea about the average speed in a window. And that's what we are going to do, and that will, kind of in a way, it will be able to figure out.
This is by geography or by tower?
No, this will be by an individual connection, because basically, when I take a plan from some service provider, that plan tells me that I will have 4 GB of data, and the average download speed of the data will be 2 Mbps, 4 Mbps, 10 Mbps, etc. So in a way, this will be able to label.
Allow how much leeway from the data that is that plan that is. Let's say it's a 4 Mbps.
No, once we are saying average, then average will be mean. For example, you have a 2 Mbps assured. That means 2 Mbps average will happen.
Has to be average.
Has to be average.
And when do you propose this should be implemented? When do you
this
think
should be actually in my view, this should be out in a month's time.
Mr. Sharma, there was a time when unsolicited calls was a huge problem. It was brought down to under control to some extent. Right now, you get at least 5 to 10 unsolicited calls from sellers of credit cards, from all kinds of unsolicited calls. How do you plan to bring this under control?
No, in fact, let me say that, Rajiv, that the TRAI has taken a number of steps to ensure and to tackle this menace of the unsolicited commercial calls. The way it happens, there are some registered telemarketers who are actually authorized to make commercial calls or send messages. On the other hand, TRAI has created a framework where if you don't want to receive the unsolicited commercial calls, UCC in short, you can actually register on the UCC portal, which means that you shall be blocked. Now, every registered telemarketer, before it actually shoots off messages or starts making calls, it has to rub or scrub, as it is called, that list with the unsolicited, with the DND list, as we call it, do not disturb list. Yes. And only those numbers which are filtered out of this list, they can make the call.
But that's obviously not happening.
I'll tell you what has changed. So far as the registered telemarketers are concerned, they are really not indulging in this kind of problem to a large extent. What is happening is, there are people from the, when you receive these calls, you must have noticed that they come from the normal 10-digit numbers. Sure. They come on normal mobile numbers. Right. So suppose I have a telephone number and somebody contacts me that why don't you just start making calls for my product. I, as a side business or as a fly-by-night operator, I start making these calls or sending the messages using my number. So because that number is not registered, you get a call and you normally pick up the call saying that, okay, maybe somebody is calling. And once you know that it's a commercial call, you must complain to the TRAI. What we have done in the last 6-8 months is that we have created an app whereby it makes it very easy for you to complain. So DND 2.0 is effective since last about, so what happens is now we start getting complaints against these 10-digit numbers, and once we get the complaints, and we get the complaint from 4 or 5 independent sources, immediately we are able to stop that number.
Can we ask you, when do we expect 5G recommendations to start? And the second thing is in-flight calls and in-flight data usage. When is that likely to be allowed?
No, actually, in-flight data connectivity, we have already given recommendation to the government of India, whereby we have recommended that in-flight data connectivity of both types, which is a call type and also the data internet type, should be allowed. There are certain conditions under which it should be allowed, and that I think is the recommendation under consideration of the government. With regard to 5G, my view is that, look, 5G is a great departure from the earlier breed of technologies in the sense that it has got three things, which is very important. One is high throughput. Yes. 5G operates in gigabits per second type. It's really high throughput. Another is low latency. So very low latency, milliseconds. Then third is essentially the machine-to-machine communication. So these 3 USPs of 5G actually open up a huge areas of applications. For example, the low latency opens up remote surgeries, for example. It opens up transport, traffic. etc. Similarly, other areas, machine-to-machine communication opens up irrigation systems and agriculture. All those areas can really benefit from this power. And therefore, I think India as a country has much to gain. Huge amount of gain can happen in many sectors of the economy if we start leveraging 5G as soon as possible.
Well, that was TRAI Chairman RS Sharma assuring us that the problem of call drops should get resolved in a quarter's time. The issue of 4G speeds should be in control in a couple of months, and unsolicited calls, as far as they are concerned, it's for the consumer to take it upon himself to ensure that he blocks those numbers through the TRAI app. Thank you so much for watching.